Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the 212th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-host Andrew Norman and Scotty N. That's right. Woo! Today's topic is the amazing topic of fellowship, the changes in our lives. Would you share what this means to you today, Andrew, and why you were happy to come discuss this?
I'm super happy. And then when you told me Von Boots was coming in today, I'm fucking really stoked, man. I love you, Scotty. I love you, man. I started thinking of all like the names and just started racking them off this morning. And laughter is love. I know there's going to be a lot more laughter in this podcast. So I'm really, really stoked to be here, man. I love you, Scotty. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you're able to slide in to here. So let's talk about like my relationship with NA. Like before I got here, I didn't understand, that word fellowship in general. I didn't really understand it. It was kind of a goofy term for me, fellowship. Like, what does that mean? Religious, there's a religious thing to it. But for like, in terms of like the people, like people were a means to an end before I got here. People were a resource. People were a threat. I have all these things written down, and people were something to control, something to, to impress, right. To avoid even. People were just something that I had to get around. It wasn't something I wasn't trying to like get with people in a way where we were trying to make our lives better without using, right? There was always that using and some kind of transaction involved before I got here. I didn't want fellowship. That was like the truth of it. I didn't really want fellowship. I wasn't having it. Because fellowship meant that I had to be accountable, right? Like when you come in here, we start learning like accountability, and like you got to show up, being seen in this fellowship and becoming a member, right? Because, getting into fellowship, like doing some work here for ourselves. What I thought fellowship was before recovery was like using buddies. My using buddies are my fellowship. It always revolved around that, right? And my drinking partners, people who showed up as long as I had something to offer them in terms of like that transactional relationship. And I didn't trust the fellowship when I got here because people had hurt me for so long. I felt hurt. People was beating me down. Society was just beating me down. So why was I going to come into a fellowship of people who weren't asking for any money? They're telling me they love me. Like, there's got to be some angles. But there wasn't, right? So when I came here, walking into the rooms, I was out of options. I had no options. It was the last house on the block for me. That you hear about that in the rooms a lot. And like people were looking at me in the eye, man, and telling me they appreciated me and they loved me. And that was a feeling like I hadn't felt before because it was unconditional, man. Those people didn't have any reason to love me or want me to come back. Like I didn't have any. Why? I'm a drug addict. I'm everything people don't want to be. Right? Like, why are you gonna like? What do I have nothing to offer? Like this higher power y'all talk about, or y'all? Like, I can't even hardly get here. But then y'all are like, bro, you're here though, right? Like you're here, so we can work with that. And it just blew my mind, man. It blew my mind. I thought it was a cult. I didn't care. Right? I was like, fuck it. Like I didn't care. I didn't care if it was a cult. I was like, whatever we got to do, because I couldn't stop using. Scotty, I couldn't stop using. And so y'all showed me, told me we had a message, right? An addict and the addict can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. And and that third part is the hit for me, right? I feel like anybody can stop using, right? Like anybody can just stop using for one reason or another. Like the situation just happens where we get thrown in jail, whatever, we stop using. But to want to live clean, and to live a different way, to live by these spiritual principles that we only learn by working the steps, guys. We all know this, right? We're not just going to come into this fellowship and then we have like these 100 spiritual principles we practice. Like we're just labeled with them. Like when we get here, that's not how it works, right? We got to do a lot of work to get those. But it is possible, right? And that's where it kind of opens up into like we have to be ready for change. Like if we're gonna get clean, there's gonna be a lot of changes, whether we get clean or not, bro. If you're in active addiction, there's changes that are happening.
Mhm.
Right? So we got to embrace change now in that healthy way. And it's how we do that and how we show up for ourselves and other people is how we get better. And it's how we talk, we talk about our journeys here, whether it's in meetings or in this podcast. So I'm gonna kick that to you, Scotty, man. Like what does this topic mean to you? It's very, very important to me. Choices, right? My new DOC in this world is choices. My new DOC is drug of choice. I have a choice, man. I have all kinds of choices today if I don't pick up, right? And
Mhm.
and then my possibilities are endless at that point. So I'm pass that to you, bro. I'm so glad you're here, man. It makes me so happy that you're here today, man. I love you. Missed you.
Love you, Andrew.
Love you guys too, man. This is great. So happy to be back. So there's 2 points I'd like to make on the introduction. Um, three actually. The third being, I don't have any questions. I'm here for the ride.
I know.
Um,
I was
We
ready
got
for
him.
that.
We got him.
so there's two things I think of when I like or that came to my mind with fellowship. One is I can remember the first time I was ever invited out to do something with other addicts outside of a meeting, and it was hockey playoffs. So I had a bit of time, but this is after I moved to Alberta. But anyway, I had a bit of time, and I ended up going to watch a hockey game with some members after the meeting, and we ordered pizza and we had a good time. And it was a very big turning point in my recovery because I realized at that point that the people that come to these meetings spend 23 hours a day outside of these meetings as human beings just like me, right? And I really felt that addict to addict connection in a way that I hadn't felt before, right? Like the that feeling part of, because I spent a lot of my life not feeling a part of, right? Um, I've always, well, not lately, but growing up, I was into sports quite heavily, and even like some sports teams I was on, I felt like I was the only one on that team. Like I just couldn't relate to anybody. And coming into MA, that fellowship. Now, the other thing that comes to mind. So I don't know if I'd like to talk about the NA symbol real quick. Okay. Um, I have my, I have my, it's on our medallions, right? So that's the NA symbol right there. Um, so it's got so it's a circle with a square inside or a diamond inside, right? And there's four sides: self, God, service, and society. Now, I was taught that there's a reason why God and society are opposite each other. And that's because if you're lacking in one, you find it in the other. So if I'm lacking my God, where do I find him? I find him in society. What's society? Society is the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. So if I'm feeling that I'm not right with my higher power, I don't solely focus on my higher power. I start focusing on the other people that are in recovery, my fellow members, service work, that kind of stuff, being a part of. And I'll get right with God by doing those things. So that's the angle that it comes at me with. So, and Milan, do you have answers for the
I
question?
love you, Scott. I'm glad you hit on that
Ooh,
symbol. Ooh, I
man,
love you,
it's good
bro.
to have
I'm
you
gonna hit on
back,
that shit
Scooter Von
later. I'm gonna hit on
Booterson.
that shit later, bro. Ooh, I'm so
Yeah.
glad you hit on that symbol,
Um, you know, so for me in my addiction and for most of my life, I feel, really actually, and it's in a state of transformation really right now. My life was transactional with people. even if I would like to say that it wasn't, when I really did step work and took a rigorous, honest look at how things were happening inside my life, it was very transactional, you know?
Hmm.
And, and that really started changing inside treatment, you know, like, I would say that, you know, my brothers and sisters inside treatment, they were my first fellowship of recovery. You know, like we went out to meetings, um, but it was with those people where it really started. And, you know, it was funny because I feel like, you know, inside the group work that we did there, you know, that was the first profound honesty that I felt, and support from other people, you know, who they were there because they didn't want to die either. There was a couple people there that I'm sure were there not to go to jail. Like, let's just be honest about that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
even if they heard one message that helps them later in life, then good on them, you know. Um, we were helpful to each other. You know, we
Mm.
even inside even inside the treatment center, there was you know, service to be done for stuff, and we took our turns doing it. You know, um, I'm really involved with my groups that I'm in now. You know, I will not. I'll admit this right now. You know, you're not going to get me into business meetings doing like GSR and blah 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 and all these other, like, I will. I won't be that guy. But will I be the guy that's there every time opening up and the last guy cleaning up and closing? Yes. And you know what? There's other people who have maybe greater patience for the other type of thing. I'm maybe, you know, like they're more organized than me, and I'm totally cool with that. But you know, the steps is my program. The fellowship is my community. It is my
Hmm.
mentees, my mentors, my brothers and sisters. It's where I go to learn, you know? Um, it's like it puts on my training wheels for how to deal with people with real emotions in real life again, you know? In somewhat of a controlled environment where, you know, to be quite honestly, um, people, you know, are supposed to behave a little bit nicer, I would think, in a meeting, and it lets me, you know, really also start flexing my muscles on loving completely, regardless of the differences that me and these people have, you know, because a lot of the times I'm sitting with a group of people that would never be sitting together anywhere else, you know.
Hmm.
Um, I cherish my fellowship. I cherish it like my family, and and I try to protect it, you know, just like my family. Um, I feel that you guys, you know, doing the talks we do on this podcast is an extension of my fellowship. You know, we're here talking about recovery. We're here talking about change in our lives, and I think that you know, we can get to some really intimate conversations here that have allowed me to feel like I know you guys really, really well in some aspects. So I'm going to leave that there because I got lots of questions. And Andrew, you want to fire up the first question?
I would love to. I would love to. You brought up that symbol, Scotty. I'm gonna roll that into like one of my answers later. But it's I'm so glad that you brought that up because diversity is our strength, bro. You know, the
Yeah,
broader the base, the higher the point of freedom. Like what color is NA, what
exactly.
color is clean, right? Like we accept everybody here. Like if you want to get have the desire to stop using, like we absolutely need you, right?
Hmm.
Um, and been praying for you to get here. So, all right, I'm gonna ask this first question. What did the fellowship represent to you before you understood recovery, Scotty?
Um, the fellowship was really foreign to concept. Like, I guess when in the beginning, it it seemed kind of funny, right? Like, I'm coming to this meeting, I'm fucked up, and these other people are saying that they're fucked up in the same way, but they're smiling and I'm not, right? And I'd see them go out for fellowship, and it would be like, I don't want to hang around with these people. You know? So there was a bit of an ego death when it came to fellowship. Um, but the thing that I guess in the coming to understand what the fellowship really is, I think about step one. So so one of the things that made me feel really connected to the fellowship in the beginning, and that turning point and going from like these people are weird, it's a cult, it's not for me, like I don't fit in here. Um, I'm so unique from them because I have X, Y, and Z in my life. Um, but when I was able to sit into a meeting and I could see the person up talking, saying that they were an addict, right? I'm like, you know what? I agree that they're an addict. And I'm told that I'm an addict. Maybe if I'm an addict too, maybe I am an addict. And then they're like, I got 30 days clean today. And I'm like, I don't have 30 days clean. But if they're an addict and I'm an addict, maybe what they're doing to get 30 days will work for me too, right? And so that's where the transition went from not being a part of and not, because like some people say, like hearing my story from someone else, right? And that's kind of what, because before the fellowship or before recovery, fellowship was just formed. I I feel alone in a crowd. I would feel lonelier in a crowd than I would when I was by myself, right? So there was a transition period coming into the recovery. Um, but I'll tell you what did it for me. So I've talked about this on the podcast before, where I had a time, I had a little over 3 years, and I relapsed. Came back to recovery, 6 or 8 months later, and people were happy to see me. It blew my mind. I was like, they're gonna be mad at me for stepping out. They're gonna be mad at me for stealing a seventh, right? They're gonna be mad at me for abandoning my service commitments, right? And they didn't. They were welcoming, and that's something that I try to carry with me when I go to meetings, is being welcoming to visitors, to newcomers, to people that aren't sure about being there. Because all it takes is, one hug and somebody's a part of again. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
Hell yeah, you did. That was
That was
beautiful.
beautiful, Scotty.
That was beautiful. There's nothing like a good old Me Too, man. Like when you're sitting in these
yeah,
rooms and you have
man.
no hope and you get that and somebody tells your story and that you've never seen that person before in your life and then they literally tell your story and you go, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Yeah, me
Like
too.
man,
Yeah, me
there's
too.
nothing
Yeah,
like
me
that.
too.
And then a hug behind that, bro, it can get real powerful.
Yeah,
Um
for sure.
Milan, I'm gonna ask you,
Yeah.
young man, what did the fellowship represent to you before you understood recovery?
Whoa. Okay. So, um, there is, gosh, I think it's in the back of the AA book. They define spiritual experience, and they talk about, I think it's Herbert Spencer, and he talks about, nothing is more limiting or whatever in life than contempt prior to investigation.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
had contempt prior to investigation before coming in. Probably, I guess, somewhere between 12 and 15 years ago, I'd fucked up real bad in my life. So I went to uh, this AA meeting that was in the next town over. Didn't want to go to one in my town. I went, it was like 12 people. And I'm not going to mention the meeting name again because I'm friends with some of these people now. But it was the most depressing situation I'd ever been in. And I came home and said to my wife, I said, you know what? I said, I'm an alcoholic, but I'm not fucking suicidally depressed. I said, I'm just fine staying an alcoholic and white knuckling on my own. Like, I'm not going back to a meeting. And, And so my word of caution to people out there is that if you try out a meeting and you don't feel like you fit in, or you feel like the vibe is in an energy direction that, is quite frankly just repulsive to you, keep trying, because you will find your tribe with some people. Like not every group of people is going to be your family. It
Hmm.
can be on the fly when you're traveling or looking for another meeting, but don't don't forsake the potential of the program because of the people. you know
Hmm.
like there's magic inside this program, like. And then I thought I was going to jail when I signed up to go to treatment. So like my next recovery thing was going into treatment. I thought it was like going to jail. I'm like, okay. I'm like, your new inmates arrived. The lady's like, there's no locks on the door. I'm like, oh, are you one of the wardens? she's,
The
she's like, it's not a
wardens.
prison, man. Like people are free
Boss
to come
lady.
and go, but if you go, you're gone. Like, and for me, I walked in scared shitless. I've said this lots of times, and there's a couple guys laughing at a table, this other lady with
Hmm.
them. It was like three or four of them, and they were just about to do the morning reading. And the one guy, my friend, young Gabriel, who's been on this now, he looks at me and he's like, "You're in the right place, brother." Like five words,
As
five
opposed to the
words.
wrong place?
You know what? I felt like I was in the wrong place. I had no fucking clue. But being
Oh,
told I was in the right place, I'm telling you right now, one of my favorite things to say to a newcomer now. Say, man, you're in the right place. Because for me,
Hmm.
that dramatically changed about how I felt about where I was. But the thing
Hmm.
about it is those guys had been there like 4 to 6 weeks before me. All the people that were there when I arrived, and they were laughing, they were smiling. They could read again. Like I couldn't read right when I first got straight.
me neither.
Like I could not remember the first word of a paragraph by the time I hit the end of a paragraph, even if the paragraph was 2 sentences long. I was like, what did I read? What did I read? And anyway, so what that did for me was that was like, whoa, okay, this thing can work. Whatever they're doing can work. And that cracked my mind wide open. Like that I was just like, okay, now I'm willing to try whatever to get what they got. I'll leave that one there, but I love you guys. I'm really grateful to be spending time with you guys this morning.
I second that notion, man. I love you both a lot, man. So what did the fellowship represent to me before I understood recovery? I figured that was a good one to get us jumped off with. Both y'all brought up a lot of great points. But before I got here, the fellowship did not represent safety to me. There was nothing safe about it, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
When I thought about it, like what it represented to me was like exposure, like I was going to be exposed. Um, it represented that I had to be seen in ways that I'd spent my whole life literally doing the opposite of, right? I had been running from what y'all were asking me to do and be. And so before I ever walked into a room, my experience with people had taught me very it was a very clear line. Like if I got close to people, I would eventually it would eventually lead to some kind of disappointment, some kind of pain, some kind of. And I didn't understand like the whole resentment thing before I got here either. I just didn't know. I just didn't know. Um, but that when I heard that word fellowship, what I really heard was like it was just risky for me, man. It was just really risky. This whole thing was so risky for me. Um, because I felt like I had to stay guarded, right? And y'all were just asking me to be honest, right? And that was a layer of because I had lived behind all these masks. We talk about living behind these masks. Depending on who I was with, I was wearing a different mask every time, and so I didn't really understand who I was. But y'all were just like, come in here and be honest and share where you're at and tell us what's on your heart and what's going on with you, whatever's affecting your recovery or lack thereof. We need to hear it. And when we talk about that whole transactional thing, before I got here, everything in terms of connection was transactional. Everything, and when I first encountered that fellowship, that actual fellowship, and felt that fellowship, I didn't see the love at first. You know, it was all love, but I didn't see it. Because y'all were just asking me to be honest. I was terrified of that. I was terrified of that because I thought I was going to get judged. I thought, like, if I was honest, there was going to be consequences. And it was actually the opposite. Like the more honest I was, the better it was, right? Like the better I felt, and the more relief I got, and the more me too's, and the more like, hey man, I need to hear that I got, right? The more honest I got. It wasn't about me trying to carry a message. I couldn't carry shit, man. Like you said, Milan, you couldn't even read. I couldn't even read. I couldn't formulate a sentence and then be able to formulate another one after that, knowing what that first one meant to the second one. I couldn't do it. My brain was not, I was completely like scrambled, man. I was fried. And,
Mhm.
and so I associated groups with judgment. I thought there was like, that's what this was. And, I associated honesty with consequences. And I felt like if I was honest with y'all were just going to take the few things that I did have as kind of like my higher power, man. I was running from God before I got here, bro. I didn't have anything to offer him. I felt like I had literally nothing to offer him. And if he did catch up to me, he was going to take those couple of things that I was able to manage to hold on to, you know? And I thought that if I came in here and I was part of a fellowship, I felt like y'all were going to strip me of like who I was, like, and all that control and all my interdependence and all that shit. And little did I know, y'all were just trying to show me how to live clean, like without putting substances on emotions. You know, y'all were just like, it was very simple. You know, it was very simple. Don't pick it up. You can't get high. You know, so when I started feeling belonging, like that fellowship, right? Y'all weren't asking me to perform or pretend. There was none of that. There was no performance here. Like I felt like it was when I would come and sit in these rooms and I would hear like a speaker share for 30 minutes. I thought that that's what this was, but y'all weren't. There's no merit system here, Scotty. There's no rank. Like it's not, you had the best share today, you get to share first tomorrow. Right? It's none of that. Right? Is just coming here and share where you're at and be honest with us. That's what allows our hearts to connect. It talks about that in the literature. We come here and we talk honestly. Our hearts literally connect, right? It's a different form of connection there. And it allows us to feel not so alone, right? When we felt isolated our whole lives, and or we're doing the isolating ourselves. And you know, today I can see clearly like my resistance to the fellowship had nothing to do with the people in the rooms. Had everything to do with my fear of being known and found out. Like I felt like y'all wouldn't accept me. And that's all y'all wanted to do. I already was accepted when I got here. All I needed was that desire, bro. I could have been a robot. And if I had the desire to stop using, y'all were like, fuck, let's go. Let's go. And so now, you know, the fellowship scared me, right? I didn't trust it. And so now I like it's literally everything I am, bro. Like y'all taught me everything. Y'all gave me everything, right? And so um, there's a path here. You know, we all have a kind of a common way to come to our solutions here. You know, we work the steps, you know, whatever 12-step fellowship you're in, work the steps. Take those few suggestions that you hear since day one, like just keep coming back. Don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle happens. You know, get a sponsor, be in service, all that shit that you hear these people that have been here a long time just constantly hit on. Please try to do that for yourself, right? Those people in here struggling, listening right now, you know, it's just, you'll get your life back. I'm done. I started getting off on a tangent. I'll pass that to you, Scotty, to add, or no, we're gonna ask that Milan. And then
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question here, Andrew.
okay.
So this question kind of was created in relation. I went to a guy's 41-year cake in September, and his name was Glenn. Rest in peace, Glenn. He died of 3 weeks later. He knew he was going to pass, in fact, and it wasn't a surprise. It was cancer. But what he did, there was like 100 people at this meeting, and what he did is he said, you know, he said, over the years, I felt like the message is just not getting carried the same. He's like, I want one suggestion from everybody out there who's at this meeting, one suggestion of how we can get the message out to people better. And I thought that that was
Hmm.
a pretty remarkable thing. He didn't even talk. He just
Oh,
said thank you. He said, but this is what I want to happen today. And he got his wish. It was great.
that's beautiful.
So, the true measure of our recovery is not how many meetings we attend, but the boundless generosity we demonstrate to newcomers. What
Hmm.
concrete action can I take today to make a newcomer feel completely welcome, understood, regardless of my personal schedule? Andrew.
Oh, wow. I can pick up that phone, right? That's the first thing that kind of pops into my head. I've got a few sponsees. I can just, pick up that phone regardless. I have a lot of numbers in my phone from people from NA, and it seems like when I get a phone call from one of them, regardless of what time it is, man, I have a different, feel like I have a different level of responsibility to answer that phone call. So it's just like a natural, like I have to be there for that person, but because again, I had no belief in myself, right? And y'all love me back to life, and you know, and that's all I needed to do was just to keep coming back, right? And when I was struggling, bro, I remember reaching out a couple times early, not really knowing why I was reaching out, but I just didn't want to go back to using, bro. I just didn't want to go back to using. I remember just a couple really early conversations. When you're coming off of drugs like that, especially that first time, you're getting off drugs, you don't understand why, how, what, those feelings. You don't like fucking food doesn't taste the same. You're not even seeing colors right. Like, there's a couple conversations in there that just are so necessary, whether it's with another addict or like a therapist, your doctor, something, these breakthrough conversations that you have. Um, you just have to like just being there and being available and being ready to have those conversations. They're like little mini spiritual awakenings, right? You have a conversation with somebody, right? God speaks through people, right? I got to hear my message through people, Scotty, because I don't know what God sounds like, right? I don't know what his voice sounds like. So I got to hear it in y'all's voice a lot of the times. And,
Hmm.
but it's just about showing up and being available. But just to answer your question, man, just answering that phone call, man, picking that fucking phone up, man, regardless of who it is, and trying to help facilitate that. So I'll keep it short and
Love that.
sweet.
Okay, Scotty, the true measure of our recovery is not how many meetings we attend, but the boundless generosity we demonstrate to newcomers. What concrete action can I take today to make a newcomer feel completely welcome, understood, regardless of my personal schedule?
Hmm. What comes to mind is how there's some newcomers, right, that that are eager, right? Like they know they've been beaten, or someone's coming back from a relapse and they know they've been beaten. And those people, the ones with that inner bit. So what I'm trying to say is where I focus or try to focus my attention is on the people that rub me the wrong way, you know? Um, for whatever reason, they say something in a meeting that I take offense to, or maybe they're a chronic relapser and you get fed up, something like that. But it makes me think of there's a we have a member here in Central Alberta who is usually homeless, or he struggles to find places to live, and uh, he says he's got a bit of time, but I don't think he does, and he doesn't make a whole lot of sense when he talks, right? So he's kind of rough around the edges and that kind of stuff, and my natural instinct is to not really engage with him, right? Um, and that means that I have to engage with him,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah,
Like
I know.
Mm-hmm.
it's like because I remember what it's like to be in a meeting and need someone to reach out to me because I was too scared to reach out to others.
Mhm.
And it can be, I think, I think it's really important that we show newcomers passion, compassion, empathy, that kind of stuff. Hmm. So, like Milan, I try to get to meetings early to help set up, but also to make chit chat with some of the people that are there that I haven't seen before. Welcome them, say hello, especially if I'm chairing a meeting, right? Then I'm like extra welcoming to people. And I stay late, or I try to, so I can kind of debrief with some of the people that stick around. In the beginning of my recovery, I was a clock watcher, you know? I get to a meeting when the clock started for the meeting, and by the time the meeting was over, I was gone. I was out. And I find by going early and staying late, not only does it give me the opportunity to help someone who's new or who's struggling, who isn't running away right away, which means that they want it even a little bit. But it's good for my recovery too to be part of the fellowship in that sense, right? Like I went to a meeting last night and there's a newcomer and a lot of us reached out to him. And then after the meeting, so uh, I used to work at a treatment center like 17 or 18 years ago. And one of the guys at that meeting was a client of that treatment center when I was working there, right? And he was at the meeting. I, he's got over a decade at least. He may even have more time than me now. But, just to catch up with him was important for us, right? Because we do develop long-term bonds with each other. And it's good. And that's all I got.
Love you,
Love you,
Scotty.
Scotty.
Okay, the true measure of our recovery is not how many meetings we attend, but the boundless generosity we demonstrate to newcomers. What concrete action can I take today to make a newcomer feel completely welcome, understood, regardless of my personal schedule? For me, those 5 words, you're in the right place. I'll make sure I say that to every single newcomer I meet at a meeting. Um, I get there early. I don't stay a ton after meetings. Like I honestly want to be very clear and very honest about the fact I am there super early, and then I will help clean up, and then I split after. Generally, my life requires me to kind of not just have my entire day open ended, and that's just the way that life is. But I try to engage with them. I try
Mm-hmm.
to, make sure if I'm sharing, I offer them the opportunity to share, and I never do it
Mm-hmm.
early on. I'll
Yep.
generally do it somewhere near the end when maybe they've been inspired by something. There was a guy, my good friend Wayne Parker, and he's not going to care because he announces himself as Wayne motherfucking Parker. He's got 49 years, coming up on 50 years this April. And one thing he said last meeting, he said, we used to take the newcomers' number down, not give them meeting lists, and we would all call them. He's like, things have gotten screwed. He's like no newcomer wants to pick up the 10,000-pound phone.
Sure.
We literally, my second sponsor taught me how to reach out. My second sponsor taught me to reach out. And now with my sponsees, you know what? I reach out. I don't put the onus on somebody who's new and struggling already or whatever. I am fine with teaching people how to communicate just like I was taught by my sponsor. You know, um, I want everybody to feel welcome. And, a lot of the meetings that I go to, as soon as there's a newcomer, one of the topics is step one. You know,
Mm-hmm.
almost every single one does that around here, and I think that's great. You know,
Mhm.
like there's no point talking circles about amends in step 10 and 11, and these people don't even know they're powerless yet. You know,
Mhm.
like I mean, if the fellowship is a source of education and guidance, you know, picking topics that are relevant to their life to save their life. You know, like it was last fall or early January where I read the statistic that we have one chance to help a newcomer. Like odds are people are coming to one meeting and they're either staying or never coming back. You know,
Mhm.
so how we treat the newcomer is of vital importance. And by vital, vital means like life or death. You know, like, you know, save your bullshit, your drama, your quibbling, your fucking whatever for your own time. Take it to your sponsor, in fact, but don't bring it into a meeting with the newcomer and make them feel like I felt where I was never going back, man. You know, like if I didn't die in that hospital in 2023, I probably never would have come back to a room because of my experience at that one meeting. And nobody was acting meanly. It just was like there wasn't a spirit of recovery in the room. You know,
Mhm.
like when they're talking step 12, it says carry the message. It doesn't say
Mhm.
dump your mess in someone's face.
Mhm.
Having had a spiritual awakening, go
Hold
dump your
on. It
mess in
doesn't say
someone else.
that? I thought I read that in there
I
somewhere.
well,
Hold on a
it's like
second.
you know, yeah, it says that in the Coles notes.
Cole's notes. That's funny.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna leave that
Hold
one
on,
there, and
I
yeah,
got a follow up.
yeah,
So I got a question for you guys now.
we love
Oh,
it. Okay, you ask me, Scotty.
yes. Oh, yeah.
So what about the fellowship made you stay?
Ooh. Okay. To be 100% honest, it was the steps that made me stay, and the fellowship grew on me after. You
Mm.
know, it was literally the spiritual awakening that was occurring as the result of these steps. You know, um, that was like that just had me hooked. My life started changing right away doing the steps.
Mhm.
And to be honest, like when I got out of treatment, I joined two home groups, an AA one and an NA one. I just liked both of these meetings. And man, after 2 months, something happened where I think it was snowing and like I lived far away from these meetings and I didn't show up. Nobody called, nobody cared. And I was like, these aren't my peeps, you know? Like it took me a long time to really address like my community and to actually find it. And then like I was doing the online meetings
Mhm.
and I went to a roundup in an AA roundup in March. No, early April, end of March, early April, can't remember, somewhere right around there. And I realized until I get a local home group that I'm really in love with, I'm like, I'm going to have no local recovery community, you know? And, and so I made that my mission. And 9 months later, I got it, you know? And now, you know, like, now it's thriving and the group of people are just, they're amazing. Like, you know, um, and it was just me kind of growing up a little bit in the program and seeing that it was essential for me in my recovery to develop a face-to-face recovery community, people that I could get real hugs from, people that I could share real meals with, go bowling with. Like I need the what is it, tactile, is tactile the right word when you can feel it?
Hmm.
Touches.
Yeah, yeah. I needed that feeling of being in the same room, you know, and I want to state this. That does not minimize my relationships with guys like you that I may never sit in the same room with. But it was a missing component for my continued journey.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'll leave that
It's
there.
beautiful.
Thank you,
That's beautiful. I
Scotty.
love you, Milan.
I love you too, man. So much.
I'll take that beautiful question again, Scotty.
So what about the fellowship made you stay in the beginning? Or
It's
when
a
you were
great,
struggling for that matter?
yeah, it's a great question. there wasn't like this understood, like I didn't like all to just understand recovery or for the fellowship one day. The reason why, what really kept me coming back, um, it was y'all's love, like that love that I felt, that unconditional love, man. And y'all told me that that appreciation and that deep love that I felt from day one with no angles. There was no transaction. Y'all weren't asking me for nothing. Home is not a place, it's a feeling. And that's what I really felt, was that home at home feeling when I got here. Um, because my whole life I had been lack thereof, right? And everything was conditional, everything was transactional. But y'all told me, and y'all remember, I remember coming back and y'all remembered my name. I remember them calling my name, like the same couple people called my name. Like just because I came back, like I didn't do anything, and it blew my mind. It really did blow my mind. Like I felt like I could find a place in this world. Um, Before I forget this, Scotty, what does change stand for? Because I've been blowing these out with these acronyms, man. Change, CHANGE. Choosing honesty allows new growth every day.
Hmm.
Also, connection helps all navigate growth every day. Felt like that was a couple bangers for y'all.
Ooh,
Um,
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
but yeah, so like when people would remember my name, and it might sound small, but like for me, it was so huge. It told me like I wasn't just another addict, like that passing through, right? I felt like it gave me some traction. I was like, man, it made me want to come back. When they
Mhm.
asked me how I was doing, it wasn't just to ask me how I'm doing and to ask the next person how they're doing. It wasn't just flying through the questions. When they asked me, they literally would stop and listen for my answer.
Mhm.
Little shit like that, like that I had never had before, right? Like I never knew how to slow down and stay in the moment and be present in that moment and be grateful for that moment. There was always a means to an end. And then when things were going good, I'm always waiting for the ball to drop. And y'all were teaching me the opposite of that, right? Just sit down and relax, right? Read these readings, pray, just sit back and just chill, right? And people that wouldn't tell me like, oh, it's not that bad, or like other people have it worse. They would relate with me right where I was at,
Mhm.
right where I said I was at. They would nod and they would relate right then. They weren't looking for something, the right answer. It wasn't the right answer. Because I realized people were just sharing their truth and exactly where they're at. And that's when you hear those hope shots, those people losing their kids, getting murdered, and staying clean through it, and how they did it. Not even understanding what those stories were doing for me early until I really was able to gain traction with this fellowship and start getting some clean time. But it was that hope. We all weren't preaching. It wasn't a preacher. It wasn't like a religious thing. Y'all told me this is not a religious thing. It's a spiritual thing. I heard that religion is for people who don't want to go to hell, and spirituality is for people who've been to hell, don't want to go back. We've been to hell.
Mhm.
I don't want to go back. And so the whole just keep coming back, like it was so simple. It seemed so simple, and y'all were so warming and so welcoming. Um, but so the fellowship in turn gave me like a mirror instead of a judgment, right? Like I always felt judged, and y'all like literally would hold a mirror in front of me, be like, "Bro, we're all addicts. We all have the same last name. Like welcome home." And it's not welcome back, Scotty. It's welcome home.
Mhm.
I'm like, man, welcome back. Like we'll see you until the next time. No, it's welcome home, bro. Like we need
I
you.
agree. I agree.
It's such a different way to welcome somebody. And so
Mhm.
meetings gave me somewhere to go, but it also gave me a home too, right? I had nowhere to go, but like y'all were like, wow, look at the amenities here. Like check the TV out. Here's the remote. We can watch what you want, right? And I just couldn't believe it. And that's what kept me coming back. The love that y'all gave me. I love you guys, man. I'll pass that.
Woo! And Scotty, you want to answer that one, brother?
Yeah, sure. Makes me think of the first meeting I ever went to. My stepdad took me. He's been in the program for quite some time. Different fellowship, whatever. AA, not different fellowship. This is a podcast. Anyway, um, there's maybe a dozen people at that meeting. And they went around the table counterclockwise, and each one shared their story in 5 minutes or less, basically, right? So I got 12 step ones in that meeting. And I left that meeting feeling better than when I went in. And it took me a while in recovery before I realized what that was about. And it's because that's the first time I felt hope for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Nothing, no, I don't remember any of the details of those stories or anything. I just know that I felt hope and I felt better. And when I got a bit more time in the fellowship, um, in recovery, I realized that that was God expressing himself through the people around me, right? 'Cause it talks about it in our traditions, right? God expressing himself through a group conscience. So when I do my best at a meeting to influence a group conscience is to help newcomers. But that's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you don't allow people to help you, how can God reach you?
Mm.
Point.
So the fellowship was the way that God reached me through other people. And, like when I share to newcomers in a meeting, I always say that NA saved my life. And I often say more than once, right? Because I can't talk myself off the ledge, but my fellow members can. That's what kept me coming back. Is that there was a few people that I was good with that they became really good friends. And the friendships in recovery are different than the friendships you meet with random people, you know? I think it was those friendships that have kept me in as long as I've been in. And I've got a lot of good stories about, you know, friends coming through in a pinch or different ways. And I wouldn't have had that without the fellowship, right? So it was through the
That's
fellowship. It was through the fellowship I got my first sponsor, right? It was through the fellowship for a lot of shit. So yeah,
Love that.
what did they say, Scotty? We greet each other as if we survived the same near-death catastrophe.
yeah. In the AA literature, it's like we've all been through a shipwreck.
That's
We're all
awesome.
on, we were all on a ship. There's different classes in the ship. There's poor people, there's rich people, there's the band, there's the staff, right? But that
Yeah.
ship sank, and it doesn't matter who's in that lifeboat.
Yeah.
I'm getting in that
It
fucking
doesn't matter
lifeboat.
who gets there first either, as long as we get there. As long as we get there, bro. Doesn't matter who gets there first.
The best thing about being first is you get to help more people coming in.
Ooh.
Love you, Scotty. Love
Yeah.
that, bro. You sizzling in the pan, bro. We're cooking bacon right now. Love it. Love it. Is it my
Yeah.
question
So
to
now
ask?
you ask Scotty. Yep.
You ready, Scotty? So, how has the fellowship changed the way you relate to people?
I'm far less cynical about the human race after being involved with the fellowship. I think that would be the most profound part. Now, that gets you had meant I think it was Milan was mentioning service and not doing some of that one branch of service that takes you through the more of the red tape that goes on. And there's a lot of fucking red tape. But I was an active member on or in my local area for a long time. I was the web servant and I was GSR for my home group. Um, and we were actually so I live in Red Deer, which is central Alberta, but we didn't have our own area in the beginning, so we went to Edmonton. We were part of the Edmonton area, and they would have 30 GSRs at their meeting, and shit got heated. Like that was not a spiritual experience for me being in that room. Um, and I've been on the region room, and I also struggled with things. And I've taken a step back from that level of service. Um, the only reason I bring that up is because flaws are what make us human, right? So the people that I encountered there were obviously human, right? And it makes me think, like I'm a part of this. So I'm not a superhuman. I'm a human. I have flaws. I will let people down. I will hurt people. Um, but generally speaking, the fellowship. I mean, I've seen some people do some pretty wicked things. You know, wicked good. I mean,
Oh,
uh, could you repeat the question? Sorry, my brain had a fart.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How has the fellowship changed the way you relate to people?
Mm. I think um, I'm more willing to be kind. Right? I'm more because the fellowship has taught me that when I start putting in to the fellowship, I get dividends greater than what I put in. You know what I mean? And I guess like for example, when I was cleaning up, so I've talked about this on this podcast before, my mental health issues. I was in recovery, but I was in the hospital psych ward. I was in there for a couple of weeks. Um, one of the friends that I made in the fellowship uh, was taking his B pressure welding course at the college. And the college and the hospital are relatively near each other as far as the landmarks go. Um, and I think for about a week and a half, no, 2 weeks, not the weekend, but 2 weeks, he came in every day after his class with a coffee. And we would sit and we'd talk or we'd play crib. That kind of stuff restores my faith in humanity, right? Like I read the news and I'm like, humanity is fucked, right? I go to a meeting and it's like humanity has hope. That's how I would rank it.
That's beautiful. That's
love
why I don't
that.
watch the news anymore.
Uh,
Yeah, I quite avidly avoid it.
Literally, it's crazy kind of think about like I don't watch the news.
Mhm.
Denzel Washington has a great quote about the news. Says that if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed, and if you do read the newspaper, you're misinformed.
Ooh, just a little banger and true.
Mhm, mhm.
I
Milan,
Yeah,
you
for sure.
ready?
Yep.
How has the fellowship changed the way you relate to people?
Well, I'm not sure whether I can like my instant feelings are that the program and the fellowship have changed the way I relate to people.
Okay.
Like I think that I have to put the two into a group here because I feel that when I go to meetings, um, that there's some of the program involved with how some of us are treating each other,
Oh,
and one of the things that it's allowed me to do is actually see, what damage is happening due to me, like what my part is, and quite frankly, like, and not boastfully, but I really try to make my amends quickly. I really don't try to carry that shit.
step 10 Starcic,
I
come
know,
on.
and I didn't want to say, but okay, I say it. But like, and so that that kind of like training wheel environment for the program has definitely carried forward in my life. Like I'm seeking service to a greater degree in my life. Like I'm definitely you know being service minded in a much greater capacity in my life, in my job, with my friends, with my family, and I think that it's also given me a greater level of compassion overall. The things that I've seen people forgive me for, that like have just been phenomenal acts of phenomenal acts of forgiveness and freedom on both our parts. And so now, I think that I'm, instead of empathy, I think that I have compassion more for
Mm.
people, in that it's that, I understand how people are feeling, and I have a desire to help them make it better. Even if it's just through clearer communication, stopping and saying, like, I'm misunderstanding something right now. Can we talk about this? Because like, I don't know how to not feel attacked here. Let's just let's slow this down. Like, especially with texts, man. When I
Oh,
see texts going sideways, I'm like, boom, right on the phone. I'm like, say this to
Me
me.
too.
I'm
Me
like,
too.
say this to me. Tell me how I'm misinterpreting this. And I'm not saying it like
Yes.
attacking or a bully. I'm like saying it like a hurt individual looking for love, you know?
yeah.
Um, so I think that, one of the results of the
Mm.
program and the fellowship together for me is my conflict resolution is much clearer. Like, it's
Mm.
much clearer with other realtors that I have to work with my clients. I would like to say totally inside my family, but like, man, I find that it's really hardest at home to like, I try, but man, when things are happening at the speed of life, I get swept down with the current, man. Like, and you know but I'm still quick with that step 10. I really am. And I am trying to change. It's just like, man, if I get whacked in the face too hard, I'm like, shit, man, I didn't
You
realize he was still here. But yeah,
don't
that's
even
what I
wait
got
till
for
the end of
that.
the podcast. You just do it.
Ooh, I do. I
Step
do.
10 Starcic, bro. I love you.
I love you too. I love both you guys. Okie dokie. Andrew.
All right, I'm going to answer this question. So, how has the fellowship changed the way I relate to people? Um, well, we talk about this a lot. Before I got here, everything was based on the whole fear. I was managing, controlling everything. Everything was based on control in that transaction or relationship. Excuse me. But I learned something really, really. It changed up for me when I realized, like, connection does not require performance. And that's the underlying tone here, is like there's, again, we're not like ranking you on your share or what you're saying. As long as I was honest, that connection was going to happen. I didn't have to perform. I didn't have to be funny. I didn't have to be useful or anything like that. I just had to come in here and be honest with where I was at and who I was. That alone changed the foundation of how I related with other people, tenfold. We talk about having to do all these things, right? If we can just come in here and do that, be rigorously honest, everything changes. Um, Everything, all those feelings, all those uncomfortable feelings that you need to feel and all that shit, that you'll be able to get through all of that is if you come in here and be honest with the group. Um, Everything will work out, bro. I can't even explain that. But y'all know what I'm talking about. As long as you can just be honest, everything's gonna work out. The
Yep.
fellowship also taught me how to listen. I didn't know how to listen to shit.
Mm.
I could not listen before I got here.
Good point. Good point.
Listening is such a skill, right? It seems like, I was always listening to, like, respond to get my way or to get my control back, right? But I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to defend. I'm not, like, constantly in meetings, but I can actually sit here and listen, right? Hear somebody else's truth and not make it about me today. Bro, that's a blessing right there, man. Everything was about me. Everything I was doing, all my thought processes were to get what I needed in the end. And the more and more I can surrender, which is my true power here, I can realize that this fucking thing has nothing to do with me, man. And the more and more I can take me out of the situation, the better my life is. It sounds silly to say that, but it's so true. Like, the more and more I can be of service to other people and shit, like, my life is so much better and it's so much easier going. You know what I mean? And I don't. So this is another very, very important thing that I've learned here is that I can disagree without disconnecting completely. Right. I don't have to burn the house down. Right. I can disagree with you, Scotty, right now, and still it doesn't change our relationship at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like it almost actually helps out the relationship because we can be honest with each other and I can meet you where you're at. Right. Because the whole time coming in here, I've been keeping my side of the street clean. Right. We disagree. We can meet, face up at our lawns, right, and be like, and talk about it and help each other
Mm-hmm.
out, get there, staying clean, right, and it's beautiful. That translates into my relationships too. Like with my girl, like I can disagree and have disagreements with her and not like threaten leaving her and threatening abandonment, like shit like that, like these little things that we learn here, that just start with that simple act of just like coming in here and being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like we learn all these layers of our life of how we can incorporate really really deep levels of like serenity and like spiritual principles like into our lives every day all the time if we want to. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. We can do that shit without even thinking about it, can't we, Scotty?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned healthy boundaries, which is a beautiful thing too, because like no is a complete sentence, is a complete answer, right? And boundaries, healthy boundaries is a form of love. Like it's self-love. Like me telling you no sometimes is the best thing in the world that can happen for anybody. Is me telling you no.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that was my answer. I love you guys,
Love
man.
that.
I love y'all a lot. So I'm so glad we're here today and you're here today, Scotty. So
Scotty, do you have another question now? Okay.
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to go and ask Andrew this one.
yes.
Okay. Loving completely means acting as a higher power's instrument for others, expecting no recognition or reward for the deed. Is your service today driven by a desire for affirmation or cherry picked, or is it a pure act of surrender to the needs of the group?
Lovely question. It's definitely the latter, right? The surrender and giving up to the group. Um, I'm told like to be able to keep all this beautiful stuff that I have to give it away. And so the more and more I'm able to give all this stuff out, like as I was able to pocket a little bit of it, sitting here in the back of the class, just listening to my predecessors when I first got here, as I started getting a little bit of it in my pockets, like I started giving it out. And that's when things changed for me, is being able to give that shit out because I get it in droves back, man. Like hope and love are the only two spiritual principles we can give to each other. I don't know if you've heard me say that before, Scotty, but it's true. Like I can't make you an honest person, can't make you a willing person. I can't give you open mindedness, right? But I can give you brotherly love, and I can give you hope, right? And those are the things that we do a lot of here, man. Because um, if I didn't see somebody else struggling when I first got here and going through shit clean and talking about it, I wouldn't have that hope. I wouldn't be able to have that hope that I could do it. And so I needed y'all doing that to. Okay. I needed that to. I needed that. I'm like a squirrel.
I know.
I needed that to be able to keep going, again, if I would have sat here and thought that I was going to get all these beautiful things I'll talk about, the open-mindedness and the willingness and all that when I got here without any work, um, obviously that would not have worked out. So, I love people as they are, where they're at today. That is probably the most important thing I've been able to learn here, is to be able to love people as they are, not as I wish that they would be. I don't have to fix people to stay connected to them today. I don't have to abandon myself to keep the peace.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this a lot lately on the podcast, Milan, where we were as an addict, we'll get in that position of just taking the blame for something, though we didn't do it, to keep the peace, and then to in an undermining way keep controlling the situation. Even we might not have done anything with it, we might not have done anything or had anything to do with the situation. We'll take blame for it because in a weird way we'll be able to control that bitch. Right? It's weird. It's odd. It's crazy. I think it speaks to the levels of our disease and um,
Mhm.
and our minds and brains being trained on like anything that's going to get us into a position of thinking that using is a good option, we're going to go there. And so that's where we just got to stay tapped into this fellowship. And any way we can be of service to other people and shit gets us out of that little isolated spot to be able to have that mindset grow for me. So I'll pass that. Love you, love you, love you, love you.
Is Scooter the Invisible Man Von Boots?
Ooh,
Uh,
Scooter.
are you
Yeah,
there enough
I,
to
I,
answer?
I'm still here. Yeah, I can talk.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so loving completely means acting as a higher power's instrument for others, expecting no recognition or reward for the deed. Is your service today driven by a desire for affirmation or cherry picked, or is it a pure act of surrender to the needs of the group?
What the hell of a question. Um, what comes to mind is how much service do I do that's out of people pleasing? How many service positions have I taken, or ad hoc groups or workshops have I done for the right reason? And it talks about that in our literature. So service is doing the right thing for the right reason. And I can say that in the beginning of my recovery, uh, actually, you know what? I can make this a broader subject. In the beginning of my recovery, uh, I did things out of fear of relapsing. I had a fear of going back out there. I had a fear of the psychosis that I endured. I had a fear of that lifestyle taking over everything. So I people said, like service helps keep you clean, so I signed up for service. And I would do whatever. And then there's a point in my recovery, I'm not sure exactly when it was, but I started doing things because I wanted to do them because they made me feel better and because there's a spiritual component in there too, which I can't quite nail down. But I'm definitely the not victim, but well, I'm a victim of myself. But I've I've actually stepped back from a lot of service right now because my life has changed. It's a lot busier. I don't have the same amount of free time that I used to have. So, and there's something I've noticed that's come across there, and that's I'm not in the click the same way anymore. Like for a lot of my recovery, I was unemployed, so I would make 5 meetings a week or something. So a lot of people knew who I was. I was very active in service at the area level. I've done region, I've done area. Um, I do workshops at our convention every year. So like very heavily involved. And I knew a lot of people and I felt um it doesn't matter where I go to a meeting in central Alberta, like I'll see somebody that I know. Um and that's good. But then when you start to fade away a little bit, it's like not everybody keeps tabs on you, and it's kind of interesting. Like Milan mentioned that, right? Not going to a meeting and how many people phone you, and that can be kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I felt like the Invisible Man.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I've seen it happen with other people as well. Uh,
It's
but
go ahead. Sorry.
I'll tell you, the real rough patch I hit was about a month and a half ago, and two members reached out to me, and I don't know where I would be right now if that hadn't happened. And the lesson I take from that is to reach out to other people if you don't see them around for a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Because I missed there's two meetings I go to in Red Deer on a regular basis, and I missed some, and two guys reached out, and I was very, very, very moved by the nature of the way that they reached out, and They really took away that lonely feeling. Because I've always isolated, but now it's more solitude than isolation. But it still crosses the line sometimes. So, yeah, service is interesting.
Service is so interesting. I think there's a lot of levels to it psychologically, spiritually,
Yes. Yeah.
action wise.
It's heavily layered. It's heavily layered.
We should do that as a topic soon, Milan.
Yeah, we should actually. Oh, Andrew, also Invisible Norman, is back on the screen.
I had to go to the bathroom. I had to go potty.
Yeah. Okay. Loving completely means acting as a higher power's instrument for others, expecting no recognition or reward for the deed. Is my service today driven by a desire for affirmation or cherry picked, or is it a pure act of surrender to the needs of the group? And rigorous honest at this moment, it's a combination. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
absolutely. I do a lot of the shit that other people don't want to do. You know, I do not go to these meetings that Scooter, the Invisible Man Bum Boots does. Like I just don't. But you know, like pulling the garbage out of the garbage can and putting the new bag in. You know, doing up all the dishes at the end of a thing. We say in our meeting, it's even in the format. Who wants to stay and who would stay and help clean up? And like 3/4 of the meeting are like, "We're service." And they're gone. And they're gone within 30 seconds of the Serenity Prayer being done. And I'm just like, that's false service. And then I'm judging, right? Like, look at where it puts me. But, you know, for me, I love to chair meetings. Like I like it's the performer in me who just like loves the fucking stage. I feel like and I know when someone needs to share. Like I got this intuition, this guiding force inside me. Like I swear, like there's times where I'm like, wow, what am I thinking? Like, how do I know? You know, like I'm like, so anyway, for me now, I have to recognize, I recognize that there's part of me doing something that I really love, and is it a service to the group? Sure. But one of the things I do think is that, you really got to make room service wise for the newcomers, getting people responsibility and handing off stuff, no matter how great I think I am of an auctioneer on shares. Bit of five, scooter von boots. We got Andrew over here selling for 15. Come on, Andrew, come in for the big share. And then, but, sold to Virginia. But,
I got you this time, Scotty.
That person shaking behind the table, someone said it last night. They gave me the promises at this meeting last night. And this guy, who just got 6 months, man, he's like, man, can I please read? Can I please read? And I was like, dude, I'm like, go ahead. Like that, they just put that there in front of me. I'm like, but even in his share, he's like, I fucking hate talking out loud. He's like, this is helping me build self-esteem. This is helping me get some confidence in myself. This is helping me to externalize. Like, we don't know how important handing that service over to somebody is in their own human development, coming outside of like, feeling like a piece of shit.
Spiritual principle of rotation.
That's right.
Spiritual principle.
Boom. Like
it's
Andrew,
principle.
We call Andrew the rotato.
Let's go.
He's like spinning it around. But so for me, I actively try, like one of the things in my two-way prayer is don't cherry pick my service, So when people are like, oh, does somebody want to do this? The more I don't want to do it, the more I say yes. I'm being honest. Like if something is like, I really don't want to do it, and I'm like, okay. And
you feel so much better.
And so, but on a psychological level, am I now people pleasing myself? I could be just people pleasing like not for other people, but now I'm like, Milan, that's a good little Milan. You've just made me happy, Milan, with your actions.
Co-sign your own bullshit.
I don't know. And that's why I say there's so many levels to the service thing that I'm not even sure like 5 podcasts could psychologically uncover my quest for service.
Very
See,
true.
see that's the thing though with my service. I did so much service outside of the group that I burnt myself out. And I held service positions for like over 6 months, and I was just fucking useless in those positions, which in turn was negative for the area, which was negative for a lot of people.
Such a great
So
point, Scooter. That's a great point that I think people don't think about, right? Like when you're being too much service and then you're not able to show up or be who you need to be in those service positions, you are being a disservice to the fellowship and yourself.
yeah.
And I like to see when they're service sponsors.
Hmm.
Service
We
More of an
sponsorship?
AA thing. That's more of an AA thing, but yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's an NA thing I've seen.
mentorship.
Yeah,
Mentorship
Service
we have
sponsor.
it.
Yeah.
And maybe the wording is different, but
The
we do it.
wording, yeah, wording.
Because we would say mentorship
Okay.
out here.
Got one sponsor, bro. One.
Huh? You
You
got
one
one?
sponsor. No, just we don't have like a different sponsor for service.
What?
Our sponsor
Maybe
is
you
our
should.
sponsor.
Maybe you should.
No, my sponsor is a bad. No, he knows.
But I'm
Like,
just saying,
what are you going?
I'm
Is the
just saying
sponsor
that
not
there's
going
a
to know
like
service? You can have a
I
sponsor
think
that
handing
knows
that
about service too.
torch, I think being part of a relay team on service and handing something to somebody and actually showing them how to do it instead of just throwing them in the frying pan and letting them fry, I think it's a useful thing.
Not a
It's like
sponsor though.
nobody's like, hey Andrew, go do the steps yourself. Figure it out.
Got one sponsor.
Well, people
That's all
do
I'm
that
saying.
with service.
Okay.
Anyway,
All right.
yeah, that's right. Okay, so
Scotty, are you
Scooter.
with me? One sponsor. You get one sponsor, Scotty. Right? One sponsor.
Whoa.
The way I like it the best is you have one sponsor,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
when it comes to service positions, there's mentorship and rotation.
Yes. I
Yeah.
agree.
So I was vice chair for a year before I became area chair, right?
Yeah.
When I was giving up my webmaster position, I didn't just throw everything to the next person. I talked with them. I went through it with them.
Yeah.
So that's
Set them up for
because
success.
I part of my story is when I had my 3 years, I was multi-fellowshipping and I had multiple sponsors and I got confused.
Bisexual.
But yeah, I got confused.
Love you, Scotty. Love you,
That's
Milan.
awesome. Yeah. So, Scotty, you still got no question, or did you think of
No
one?
question.
Okay,
No, I have
Andrew,
one.
you're
I
up.
got a great one. Asking you, Scotty.
Yeah.
Right? What happens to your recovery when you disconnect from the fellowship? What happens
Oh,
to your recovery when you disconnect from the fellowship?
it ain't good, man. It ain't good. Um, I think I think spiritually I suffer right away. Right, I lose that life link to NA, right? Because like I said before, you know, my higher power works through other people. You know what I mean? So if I'm not engaged with people that have similar goals, who am I engaging with? Right? Because when I surrounded myself with people that used the way I did, which meant that my using wasn't abnormal. I didn't think I had a problem because all the people around me were doing it the same way until I started using on my own. And then it was a bit different. Um, the same when I come into recovery, I need to surround myself with people in recovery because that's the only way I'll ever learn it. And that becomes a lifeline to my higher power. It's a lifeline to service. It's a lifeline, to help. I cut all those things out of my life, and what am I left with? I'm left feeling alone. And I hate feeling alone. And that's one of the reasons I use. But I just say the word that comes to mind is free fall, right? Like it's just not good when I'm disconnected. My brain I don't know I'm insane because I'm insane and I can't see my insanity. There's nobody to check me, right? There's nobody checking in. There's a huge part of my recovery is just put to the side and in a box. And I just do not do well when when I'm not connected in that sense. So it's it's a dangerous place for me to be, and it's a precursor to relapse. Right.
Scooter said hashtag free fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love you, man. That's a great question. Answer. Excuse me. Milan, you ready?
Yep.
What happens to your recovery when you disconnect from the fellowship or fellowships?
Man, I'll have to tell you when it happens. Like I've literally, I've never had more than 5 days without being connected in some way. So I really don't know. I do know this. I do know this, that even by 5 days, I'm eager for some calibration in my spirit.
Hmm.
Like eager for it.
Mhm.
Like I could tell that there's a little bit of personality sneaking in front of that principle sometimes.
Mhm.
You know?
No. Yeah.
And I'm
Mhm.
just like, well, got to get back in a room of love. Got to be able to share some secrets and fucking get past this. But honestly, I know it's a really short answer, but I just don't know.
You can come in here and try to drop the mic on us, Scooter. Yeah, he can't do that to us. Can't do that
I
to us,
run a
bro.
tight program, man. I run a
I
tight
love you,
program. My
man. I love
program's
you.
like tight, man. It's like a
I
pair
love
of
you.
jeans you need pliers to zip
I
up.
take you no other way. I take you no other. You got to lay down on the bed to get them pulled
Yeah,
up. You got. Yeah,
that's
I
it.
got you. So what happens to me? Hashtag LLA when I disconnect from the fellowship. Um, well, free fall, bro. You're right, right. When I really kind of think about it, though, like my perspective starts to narrow. I remember a couple of times I drifted away, and when I think about drifting away, like my mind just kind of gets back focused immediately. But when I let my mind go there, like you know, everything gets a little more stressful, right? Like my problems get a little bit bigger. Like I start having all these expectations on people, outside and of myself that are a little lofty because what I'm doing is I'm taking myself away from that connection, that true connection that got me clean, like that got me here. And so as I've trained my body now to call hope dealers and not dope dealers, right? Like that's a whole process is to training my mind to want to call a hope dealer, not a dope dealer when shit gets squirrely. Um, I have to maintain that lane, right? Because my when I start thinking like my mindset and my answer is always the best, like I have a problem. Because when that goes unchecked for a long period of time, bro, that the world becomes unsafe for me. Seriously.
Mhm. Mhm.
When that perspective narrows down, like in the world starts revolving around me again, bro, I got a problem, man.
Mhm.
I lose balance. We talk a lot about balance here, and a lot of my balance comes from hearing y'all speak and sharing in meetings. That's where my balance comes from, man.
Mhm.
I hear everything from like I'm still high to like I've been 47 years clean and need to be here right now. Like not to run my mouth just to hear the message. Like I've heard everything in between. That's where I get my balance, man. That's where I can channel my what I'm doing through y'all's experience and stay even keel, right? Without having to do the like go through y'all's experience. I can live it through y'all, right? It's a way that I can literally stay right sized. Going through those emotions with you as you come on here and you cry because your son was shot and killed in the streets, or like I feel those emotions. Like I'm crying too, right? It keeps me right sized, man. It keeps me like it doesn't matter what I'm going through today. It can always be worse, right? Can always be worse. And so it keeps me right. It keeps me humble. I get all my perspective that I need for the day. through these meetings, right? Like if recovery is a roadmap, right? Like these meetings and shit is like my gas stations. That's where I fill up. That's where I get like filled up, man. Got to
I
be
like
there.
that.
You
I
know,
like
or
that.
because if I don't go to these meetings and shit, like that's I start running out of gas. Then I'm running on fumes, right? Then I'm not operating as well as I'm getting lower to that line where I'm getting having to fill up. And I better go fill up, bro. If not, I'm one of these guys who I don't let it go past halfway empty, right? Like I'm in meetings so much, like I don't let it get down like the gas tank past like halfway, and I'm filling up,
Mhm.
right? You know those people. You know those people that don't let it get that low.
It's not good for your tank.
Not
It's
good
not
for your
good for
tank.
thing. It's not
Not
good
good
for
for your
your
tank.
tank.
Not good for my recovery. I gotta
Yeah.
stay tapped in. I love you guys, man.
Okie dokie. So I'm going to ask you another question, Andrew, also Invisible Norman.
All right. I'm not invisible. I'm
No, no,
good.
but you were. When
I got
Scotty
camo
became the
though.
invisible man, you were also invisible. You guys were both
Mm,
gone, and I was here by myself.
I'm gone right now.
Okay, there we go. Fellowship is the classroom where we practice loving completely the difficult people, a skill required to love the whole world. Have you
Mm.
made a list of spiritual assets you desire in your life, and are you recognizing and appreciating those assets when they appear in a sponsee or group member?
Oh wow, yeah. Absolutely. When I see things in other people that I want to have in my life and or that maybe that I have taught them in terms of like a sponsee, bro, that's kind of like why we do this. That's my like payoff. That's like my money shot, man. Like when that happens, that's my spiritual like, yeah, bro, you're doing the right things, you're in the right place, you're
Mhm.
helping people. Like it's just that natural like attaboy from the God of my understanding, who the God who finally understands me, Scotty. Right? I used to talk about the God of my misunderstanding, and now
Mm.
I have a God who finally understands me. Right? Like we are amigos, man. That's my bro. I have a really good relationship with him. Right? I don't know all the answers, and I'll never know all the answers, but I have a really really good connection with the one who does. And I've got to lean into that, man. And so when I'm doing these things, the service and helping people out, help facilitating people staying clean and love, right, and hope. It's those good feelings when I'm doing it. It's that attaboy from the God of my understanding. It's just that natural fuel for me, right? It just kind of keeps me going. Um, and so it just keeps that ball rolling in the right direction, man. But I can feel it. It's like a feeling. It's a physical feeling. I can physically feel it when that shit happens, man. When I'm doing it and I'm
Mhm.
staying, it's like a momentum. It's a momentous thing that I feel. Pumps me up, it keeps me going. That's my answer. Quick and easy.
Woo! Love that. Okay, Scooter, the Invisible
Yeah.
Man Von Boots.
Love that
Fellowship
dude.
is the classroom where we practice loving completely the difficult people, a skill required to love the whole world. Now, have you made a list of spiritual assets you desire in life, and are you recognizing and appreciating those assets when they appear in a sponsee or a group member?
So I have not specifically made a list. Although I would say that when you get through part of your steps, um, the fellowship becomes a mirror. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, so when I was doing step six, my first step six, my honest answer,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? It's like I was a walking ball of defect, and I saw those defects in other people, and they would irritate me until I worked through that event. Um, Now it's like I recognize when people are doing well. I recognize when someone's having the courage to share honestly at a meeting, or give some advice outside the meeting, or be friendly to a newcomer, or um, be friendly to the disruptive member, or all sorts of stuff. because it takes all kinds. As far as like dealing with other people outside of the fellowship, um, I can usually figure out why they need a fellowship pretty quick.
You're in the right place, young man. Sit down. Get comfortable.
But the best advice I've gotten recently is just be Scotty.
Ooh.
That's it.
Yeah,
Just be me, right?
that's it.
And when I am me, the true me, um, dealing with difficult people isn't hard because I'm I'm somewhat detached, right? I'm self-sufficient, so I don't have to take on their shit. And I'm usually able to see a conflict resolution pretty quick, you know. So I think
Level of acceptance too, man, right in there. Right.
yes. It's very true, acceptance. Because it's important to accept people where they are, right? We talked about that earlier. Like, and and people, a lot of people are fighting wars inside themselves that we have no fucking idea, no idea.
Great point.
And we are so fortunate to have a fellowship and a society where we can deal with that shit. Not everybody has that, right? So
Yeah. We're being
I
proactive.
love that. Yeah.
Right. It's
So, fellowship is the classroom where we practice loving completely the difficult people, a skill required to love the whole world. Have I made a list of spiritual assets I desire in my life, and am I recognizing and appreciating those assets when they appear in a sponsee or group member? So, first time in treatment, when we hit step 6, it was to take those fears and those character defects and write them down the left-hand side of the page like a list and have an arrow over to what they become. So like anger turning into love, fear turning into faith, intolerance turning to tolerance. Sometimes it's not much of a mystery of what it turns into. But anyway, my point is right now I'm at step 6, and this was something we were just talking about in my step working group the other day. And to me, I was getting torn down through the steps. Okay, like I was happy to do the work. I was happy to go through the struggle. But man, there is a lot of crow and shit you got to eat on the way to
mhm.
step 6. And I
Yeah.
felt like step 6 was really one of the first like hope of like who I could become steps.
Mhm.
Where it's like I became entirely ready not to be that other person on some fronts, but I need to know where I'm going to. And that's where I think, a solid step 6 with every single facet involved with it can give you the signposts of where you need to go, the direction, something. And so when I see a little light bulb go off in my sponsee, man, that light bulb just shines in my heart like the
Oh,
warmest fire
definitely,
of the day.
yeah.
Like
definitely.
like I am so freaking happy because I know those little light bulbs and that fire is what burns you into sustaining your recovery, man. And
Mhm.
but also though, when I'm sitting in a group, man, and somebody shares on something that like literally is my conflict ongoing in my life or something I need to work on, you know, I love it, and quite frankly, like I genuinely thank them for being just you know, part of my day and part of my recovery at that point, because it really does make a difference for me to be able to see solutions from other people. My limited Milan mind will answer questions with a Milan mind every time. I can't borrow
Mhm.
Scotty's brain or Andrew's brain and be like, okay, today I'm solving it like Scotty. Like, I just don't have those neural pathways.
Mm.
And so that is
That'd be
one
dope.
of the most valuable things in the fellowship for me is our collective consciousness can grow at a rate and in a direction that my limited consciousness will never be able to conceive of.
Oh,
You know, like it's absolutely that collective consciousness is something that is super duper magic. So it's
and,
9:42.
and
Mhm.
I can't think my way out of the same problem that I thought my way into.
Mr. Bacon in the pan, Nielsen.
You just overfried that bacon. That shit
I
is
love it.
hot. I can't even take it off the stove right now. It's too hot. It's too hot.
Well, you know what? It's been a real slice, guys. I love you guys. Andrew, you want to say something here for the end?
Yeah, I love you guys. Love you, Scooter. I'm glad you're here, man. Scotty, I'm so glad we got to do this today, man. I didn't know we were in and out so quick. All right. Yeah, that's it.
I got to go by 9:45, so it's not even
Okay.
enough time
Yeah, all
for
right.
me.
I love you guys,
Yeah.
man. Love somebody today. Love allows us to let our voices encourage. I love you, Scotty. Love you, Milan, man. Good to see you guys.
Scooter, you want to say something here, brother?
I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to come back on your podcast.
We've been
I
missing
love
you.
I love both of you guys, and this was a lot of fun. And my joke for the day
Oh,
is
I love the baby face. Before you say that, love the baby face, bro.
that's what I said. I said he
love
looked
that
so
shit, man.
good.
He looked really nice, man. Looked really, really professional. I actually feel like I shouldn't be here right now. Go ahead with your joke.
Oh my God. I'm so
Love you.
Okay. So did you hear they made a drug that cures addiction? You take one pill, but I wonder what happens if you take two.
And tune in next episode for more
Love you,
recovery
man. Love
fun.
you guys.
Bye bye, everybody. I love you.
Ah.
Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.